22, which one, 2 more years. I think it went up quite a bit. So it looks like you transfer about budget 45,000 a year that goes from general, water, and sewer into the special equipment fund.
Okay.
And that 45,000 transfers in there, doesn't, if it gets transferred, it doesn't come back out unless they need it, like they would need it in one of the funds. So it could build up. You only spent in 22, you only spent 7,800. And in 23 you only spent 2,200. So right now at the end of 23 you had 102,513. Because sometimes what happens, that's what happened in 22, you don't transfer the full 15, that's what happened. So like in 22, only 10,000 was transferred from general and only 5,000 was transferred from water. It kind of depends how much money that fund has and if they need it in their fund and whether they can transfer it. You see that happen quite a bit.
Yeah, that special equipment fund is considered what kind of equipment? Like a pickup truck?
Any equipment.
Maintenance, pumps, what is?
Any equipment.
General?
Very general, yeah.
Okay. It's not buying the back.
Do what?
It's not just buying back.
That's right. It's, it literally,
Everything.
that's right.
Okay.
Like Galva, when they started their capital improvement fund, what they did is they said, we're going to take, it wasn't a big amount, I think it was like 25,000 or it might even been 50,000, but I think it's 25,000. They took out of the sales tax goes into general. They made a line item down below that says transfer to capital improvement, and that's how they started building their capital improvement fund. And they just, I mean, you got to start somewhere. So Mr. Ford, way back, and then they would actually do lease purchases back then. That's how they got their backhoe. That's how they got their grader, is they would do a lease purchase on those. And this can be done, but you also need streets, okay? So, but what they did there is this grader, at that time we had sand streets. I don't, you got all, do you have all black, I don't know, is there any sand?
Yeah.
Okay, there's some sand on there. Okay, I couldn't remember. So what happens sometimes is if you buy a piece of equipment, and say it's a grader, so, or let's say it's a backhoe, so we can use it in water, we can use it in sewer, we can use it on streets, for snow removal, for what, whatever. So what a lot of cities will do is they'll take 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, or 25% from each of the funds, and that's how they make their lease purchase payment.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then that way one fund doesn't get hit for all of it, because you literally are using it across
Yes.
the entire city. Yeah. Yep. That out, what? Do you have any more questions? Oh, absolutely, you got my email, yeah. I just gonna ask if you've had all the pleasure you can tolerate for a while.
Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, if there's anything, I mean, you all know where I live today probably, so if you have any questions, holler at me. I was just trying to that's not right, trying to get all the questions as much answered at one place instead of, many different ones. So I think at least we got started. And then the way it'll work for the budget is the state forms come out in May here, the Excel spreadsheets that do the budget. And then we'll set a time up, probably, I don't know if they've set the time up here because Linda's not here now, so I don't think they've set it yet, but we've been calling them, getting them set up. So it'll probably be sometime in June that we would have a meeting where we would take all your numbers we get, because June 15th is when you get your assessed value. And the assessed value you have to have so you know what the mill levy is. So it's really not, we can start on it before then. To have the meeting after June 15th is better, because then we know what your mill levy is, one mill is, and we can sit down, and then what typically happens there, I come with your budget, or one of my staff, I'm not sure if it's me or not, but it probably will be in this case, and we'll just sit down, and it probably takes, an hour, hour and a half, we'll go through, we have it all pretty well done the way we think it should be done, and then what you do is you adjust it for things that you feel like vision, things you feel like are important to do. Okay, so we kind of have the bare bones, and then you figure out how, like you want to set up a capital improvement fund, the budget is when you do that. Okay, so you set up, and then it would start with 25. If you decide to put 25,000 in it, then that would happen in 25. Okay, but anyway, we'll be in touch on that part.
I do have a question. I know without a clerk, this and that, but is there a specific software that would make it easier for our clerk and y'all to perform your audit and help us get the budget and everything set up that you would recommend, or what we currently have
Well,
is sufficient?
Yeah, you have, I think you still have the, from Steve Sewell, I think, but I'm not, is that right? Yeah. Yeah, I helped him put that all together, and then he had the code, so I wasn't too smart. He had the code, and he took it. So we decided, Swindle Jensen Hospital decided not to go any further with that. But it was a great program at the time when it started, because it did it exactly like the KMAG, okay? Okay, now, there's just not a lot of good programs. See, Galva's looking for one right now. Now, this is unbelievable, but we still have DOS. Now, some of you people here don't know what DOS is. Yeah. We still have DOS for our utility billing. And I tell that across the state of Kansas, not because I'm beating up Galva. Is that a risk? Yes, because you know who the programmer is? Luella Johnson. Does anybody know who Luella Johnson is? Luella Johnson is 92 years old, I think, okay? And she's still the programmer on our DOS utility billing program. Is there a risk there? Yes, there is a risk there.
You need help.
It's not, it still works, but I keep tabs. I meet with them next Monday night for their audit report, and I think it's the only one in the state of Kansas that still has DOS, I'm guessing, but yeah. But there's not a lot. There's good programs, but every one of them is a challenge.
So what we currently have is sufficient for.
Well, I'm not sure. The risk there is Steve is probably the only one that can update it. Now, I think the budget preparer you had used to be the last 2 years, used to be the city clerk at Gospel, is that right? And she went to work for Steve. I can't think of her name. Anita? Yeah, Anita. She might be able to program some too, but I don't think she works for Steve anymore. So there's another risk right there. If you only have one person that codes that software and he dies of a heart attack, that's what happened is we didn't have the code. The lawyer wasn't, we just trusted him, which we shouldn't. But, the code, and he took it, and no one else knows how to do the code. So even though it's not DOS, it's still a risk. That's what we look at, is the risk you have in your city, not just that, but anything. And that would be a risk that we would try to, that's why we're trying to get it replaced in Galva, is because we have the same software there for our bookkeeping.
We're in the same risk right now with the clerk, nobody trained to do it.
Yeah. Yep. But you can't give up. You gotta keep pressing on. Yep.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anything else? Nope.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, hope I didn't put any people to sleep.
Flee.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We talked about it.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Stevie gets mad. Stevie gets mad.
Ask for the motion.
Well, is there any discussion?
I mean, like previously.
We already did that.
200.
So,
How much would it be? make a motion to pay basically $300 to the May payroll for the May Day parade.
I'll second
Because they are actually in dire need, it should have already been done.
Motion's been made and seconded. $300 to make it. All those in favor?
Yes.
All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. Motion.
Make a motion to adjourn to tonight, next meeting will be on May 9th.
6:30.
Everybody hear that? Next meeting will be on the 9th at 6:30 here.